the rooftop invitation, with my name in silver ink. The card was too beautiful to be innocent. Soft black stock, beveled edges, a wash of silver ink that caught the kitchen light and refused to give it back. In the lower corner, for Casey, my name, written by someone who liked their pen too much. On the reverse, in neat capitals, Rooftop, Sinclair Hotel, 10:30 p.m. as the envelope carried cedar, the way expensive lobbies do. It had been slid beneath our door like manners. I inventory other people's promises for a living. Archival boxes, clean gloves, a scanner that hums the way a room does when it has been told a secret. I restore letters to legibility, and sometimes the past agrees to stay. Owen, my partner, curates at the museum with the atrium that learned to flatter phones. 5 years in, we keep the good bowls within reach and 2 glasses by the sink because we built a rule out of water: pour before the sentence that changes a day. He'd come home with a smile that wore someone else's teeth. He kissed my cheek as if the geography had shifted, showered like water knew where the apology lived, and said the board's patron drinks had migrated to a rooftop. He smelled like cedar, and it's not what you think. I nodded like a hinge that intends to keep its job. By 10, I stood in a hotel elevator that pretended it had earned my attention. The mirror did what mirrors do when you don't ask them to. It remembered creases. The doors opened onto a rooftop taught to be discreet: glass railings, potted trees, a bar doing arithmetic with light. The city lay around us like a rumor that had finally learned how to sit. He was there at the far corner, arm on the rail, a posture that treated decisions like choreography. Soren. I'd seen him across a dozen rooms as if he'd been assigned to the far edge of my field of vision. The conservatory's program director, the man donors believed when he told them humidity was narrative. He smelled like cedar and the last good minute of a lobby. He turned and found me with an accuracy that felt earned. "You came," he said, "not triumph, relief trying not to be a performance." "You put my name on silver ink," I said. "I restore records, I know how that ends." 2 water glasses waited on the ledge beside us, sweating like decent intentions rehearsing their lines. He pushed one toward me with one finger. Our hands almost touched. Heat wrote a short brief on my wrist. He stepped closer and stopped with an inch between his knuckles and my throat, the inch that has learned to govern itself. He didn't close it. The restraint had the logic of mercy and the indecency of competence. "He thinks he's meeting me here after the patron walkthrough to end it politely," Soren said. "He promised the hotel he wouldn't ruin their skyline with behavior. I thought you should have the room first." "How long?" I asked, because math is one of the few clean languages left. 8 months, he said. He didn't make the number pretty. Rain, an elevator that enjoyed its reflection, a lobby that sells permission with carpet. I ended it twice. He sent me a photograph of your breakfast with a complaint about my captions. I respected the paragraph more than I should have. A couple at the fire pit argued benignly about the morality of dessert. The bartender polished a glass the way people edit apologies. The night pretended to like us. "You could have texted," I said. "I wanted the truth to hear itself in decent air," he said. "Roofs are good at air." The door behind us sighed. Owen walked into the wind the way he walks into rooms, competent, curated, a volume you can trust even when you shouldn't. He saw me. He saw Soren. He saw the inch of air that had chosen to be political. He closed the door gently because he's learned to respect hinges even when he forgets to respect mornings. "Okay," he said. The word did not promise more than it could carry. "You could have kept the card out of our kitchen," I said. "You chose not to." "I chose incompetence," he said. "And then cowardice. I cheated. I told myself it was weather and that home is a noun that survives rain. I told myself your patience stretches because you keep old paper alive. I called spark structure. I don't want to hear me again. Soren had drifted toward the shade of a potted ficus like oxygen wanted a chaperone. He raised his hand toward my neck, stopped at that inch, and lowered it as if returning a borrowed word. The restraint was a lesson in grammar my skin wasn't excited to relearn. "What do you want me to do?" Owen asked. He didn't reach. Reaching is a contract the wrists sign before the brain reads it. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. Next week you'll tell me what this was twice. Once in your museum voice that spackles narrative, once with small words. I'll decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." "I'll do that," he said. The skyline declined to disagree. Soren leaned in close enough for breath to find the curve of my jaw and set his mouth near my ear without touching me. The warmth rearranged some furniture and left no mess. "Thank you for not making me a story," he said. "We both would have believed you." He left through the stairwell that pretended it wasn't flattered. We stood at the rail and watched the city refuse to perform. Down on the street, a taxi declined someone's dream. Up here, the bartender refused to learn our names. The night, correctly, minded its business. "I'm not leaving tonight," I said. "We'll take the long way home without touching. We'll wait at crosswalks because other people's knees and our better natures both deserve seconds. You'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow you'll end it without complimenting him. Next week you'll bring me small words." He nodded. He didn't cry. I still love him for that. We took an elevator that didn't attempt ceremony and a sidewalk that respected ankles. At our corner, a cyclist carved a bad decision and Owen's palm hovered near my hip, offering a mercy we both wanted and didn't consign. I didn't lean. Boredom, correctly applied, is a lock picking itself honest. At home, the kettle auditioned. We declined to cast it. He arranged blankets on the couch with curator care. I slept like an archive box that needs to stay flat. In the morning, he came back from the lobby that sells permission smelling like nothing, the correct cologne for adulthood. He told me he had ended it. He told me twice. In museum voice, who, what, where, sequence, context. In small words, he liked being two men because one of them wasn't tired. He mistook adrenaline for architecture. He can be one person if I let him do the work. I let him. That choice doesn't travel well on the internet. He slept on the couch for 6 nights and learned the distance between our door and our bed like a route a person makes in a city that keeps offering shorter ones. On the 7th, he came to me without ceremony and remembered my mouth with the lazy precision we practiced before we confused spark for structure. There is an erotics of restraint that declines to charge admission. There is thrill in choosing not to ruin morning. 2 days later, Soren texted, "Thank you for telling the truth at altitude." I replied, "Try it where nobody curates your light." He didn't answer, which was the second best thing he did. Work returned to its comfortingly exact self. A diary from 1946 asked me to coax its ink past a smudge, and I complied, grateful for the arrogance of fibers that still wanted verbs. A woman brought in letters her grandfather wrote while pretending to be brave. We scanned them into pixels, and she cried into a tissue that made the right kind of noise. I explained to a teenager why pencil doesn't belong on the surface of the past, and he looked at me like I'd said something about his future I could back up. A week later, I saw Soren at the conservatory teaching a school group to hold breath near ferns. He looked smaller. Maybe my anger had stopped needing him to be tall. He said hello without trying to own my afternoon. He did not smell like cedar. The air between us behaved. He left without auditioning for a moral. Here is the part with no neon. I wanted him. Not his life, not his legend, him. The inch, the heat, the way a hand knows where not to claim. I wanted to make a mistake gorgeous enough to narrate on the way home. I didn't. Wanting is a sentence, not a command. Bodies vote. Ethics count. Boredom is mercy when it lets you like yourself at noon. We adjusted the frame. 2 glasses before 3 sentences. Less reach, better touch. We stopped letting the kettle set tone. At openings, we stand near exits not because we plan to leave, but because rooms breathe better when doors aren't theirs. Owen keeps his phone face down like a man who has learned to curate attention instead of alibis. I filed the invitation in a box labeled miscellany, which is the closest a person can get to forgiveness without being careless. If another card arrives with my name wearing someone else's certainty, I will bring water. I will sit where the exit is obvious and refuse to call that cowardice. If a hand lifts toward my neck, I will let the inch exist and answer in a tense that can carry breakfast. I will keep choosing verbs that keep us possible. End, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when I smooth a crease from a letter and watch the paper sigh into cooperation, when a past returns to legibility without needing to be prettied, I will think about the rooftop, the silver ink, and the night we declined a finale, and I will call that deliberate air the most difficult thing I know how to make, and the only one that still holds when daylight forgets its lines.